the impossibility of the Christian life becomes clearer and clearer as we begin to understand just what the Christian life is to be. Let me give you an example. How many of you can live the Beatitudes in your own power? All right, let me throw this one out on you. Husbands, how many of you can live 1 Corinthians 13 with your wife? Ephesians 5? All right, so that we're all in agreement that the simplest commands of the New Testament are absolutely impossible. Now here's the problem. A lot of people recognize that because of their understanding of conversion and because of their understanding of their own failure. But in looking at that, what do? They just curl up and say it's impossible. What does the New Testament command us to do? To recognize the impossibility and run to Christ for strength. Our weakness is the thing that is supposed to drive us to Jesus Christ. Do you see that? Instead of weakness, the devil getting in the middle of it and lying to you and telling you that your weakness and your sin ought to cause you to cull yourself from Christ and go hide in the corner, every sin, every weakness, every failure in your life, the moment you recognize it, stop moping. Stop believing a lie. The moment you recognize that sin and that weakness, run straight to Christ. Because then you're believing Him when you do things like that. Now, let's look at the ministry for a moment. This is a quote I was looking for yesterday, and I finally found it in another sermon. And it was in this one. I want you to listen to the Christian ministry as described by Richard Baxter in The Reformed Pastor. Now this is unbelievable. And my wife says, "How was your day?" This is how I answer her. "We are seeking to uphold the world." That's what I've been doing today. I've been upholding the world. I've been saving it from the curse of God. I've been working to perfect all of creation. I have been working to attain the ends of Christ's death. I have been working to save myself and others from damnation. I have been fighting and overcoming the devil all day. I have been demolishing his kingdom. I have been setting up the kingdom of Christ. And I have been working to attain and help others into the kingdom of glory. That's what I've been doing today, wife. That's how Richard Baxter describes the Christian ministry. Is there anything in there that's possible for a man? Is there anything in that description that's possible for a woman? What is the Christian ministry? Seeking to uphold the world, advance the kingdom of heaven, fight the devil in hand-to-hand combat. Is any of that possible? Absolutely not. But in the power of the Holy Spirit? Yes. My little boys, they asked me, Ian asked me one time, and then one time playing around with Evan, I did the same thing when they were much littler, much younger. Ian finally looked at me one day and he goes, "Dad, what do you do?" I mean, what? What do you do? I mean, I see you get on planes, you do this, you that, you go to different countries, you come back tired and sick. What do you do, Dad? And I thought, well, I'm just going to try to press home a point. So I said, "Son, I don't know if you're old enough right now for me to tell you." Of course, you know what that did. Got his attention, didn't it? "Well, what do you do, Dad?" I said, "Son, you wouldn't believe me if I told you." And then he's like following me around. "Dad, now what do you do? What do you do?" I said, "Do you really think you're strong enough to handle this? And will you promise to believe me?" He said, "Yes." And so I said, "Okay. You want to know what I do? I fight dragons." And he goes, "Oh, Dad, you don't fight dragons." I said, "You promised you would believe me. I fight dragons." "Really? Really? Do you have a sword?" "Yes, I do." Now, you may think I'm lowering myself to speak in riddles to a child. I fight dragons. Now, you may think I'm lowering myself to speak in riddles to a child. I fight dragons that oppress peoples and kill them and enslave them. I fight dragons. You may think this is a bit romantic. I don't care. That may be your problem. You look at everything physically, don't you? You can watch The Lord of the Rings, or you can live it. There are people dying, children starving, oppression everywhere, wicked governments, bondage, slavery, everything you can imagine, thousands of babies being murdered in the wombs of their own mothers. I fight dragons. Really changes the way you look at things. Can we carry out this Christian ministry? Absolutely not. We cannot. It's amazing the repetition of the word cannot in verses 4 and 5. Christ is seeking to remind us over and over and over again one great truth. We cannot. Independent from Him, and we can. Independence upon Him. There's nothing too difficult for Him. Nothing too difficult. When I'm teaching missionaries, I try to tell them, give me one man and a Bible and bended knees, and we'll take that country. It's for this reason the Beatitudes begin with poverty of spirit. Blessed are those who are poor in spirit. It is for this reason God's providence is constantly at work to prove to us our weakness. It is the reason for every trial and every hardship. Are you hearing me? The reason for every trial, every hardship, every rough wind in your life is to show you your inability, your weakness, and to chase you back to God.
Obviously, very important is the realization that John Wesley speaks of here. Unless you are raised up by God for this very thing, you will be worn out by the opposition of men and devils. But if God is for you, who can be against you? Seek and pray to God that He shows you your specific work for your life.